Welcome to The Explainer. You know that feeling when you're on top of the world, just an absolute high, and then suddenly, bam, you're in a valley of despair? It's a jarring shift, right? Well, that's pretty much what happens in the Bible's book of Romans chapter 9. Today, we're going to unpack a speaker's take on this really complex and honestly challenging passage to see what it can tell us about purpose, choice, and trust. So just imagine this. The speaker points out that the chapter right before this, Romans 8, is one of the most triumphant parts of the entire Bible. It's all victory, joy, no condemnation. It is a total mountaintop moment. And then chapter 9 kicks off with this. It's like the music just stops. We go from a victory shout to this deep, painful whisper.
And this, right here, is the big mystery the speaker wants to solve. What on earth could make the Apostle Paul, right after writing about this incredible victory, suddenly feel such intense and personal sorrow? Well, the answer, as he explains, is all about his own people.
Okay, so the root of Paul's anguish is what the speaker calls the paradox of Israel. Paul was an Israelite, and he's feeling this profound heartbreak for his own people, his kinsmen. And it's not just a simple sadness. It's this deep spiritual conflict that's tearing him up inside.
I mean, just look at this list of blessings. It is absolutely staggering. The speaker really drives this home. God just poured out his favor on the nation of Israel. They got everything: the covenants, the law, the promises, even the human lineage of the Messiah himself. It was an incredible, one-of-a-kind spiritual inheritance. And this is where that conflict, that sorrow, comes from. You've got God's unbelievable promises on one side, and then on the other, the fact that the nation as a whole just kept turning away. So the big question is, does that mean God's promise failed? The speaker's answer is a definite no. The problem isn't with the promise itself, but in how we're supposed to understand it.
All right, so to solve this puzzle, the speaker brings in a really big idea: God's sovereignty. This concept is basically the key that unlocks the rest of the chapter. Let's see how this all fits together.
So here's the crucial point. God's ultimate plan doesn't actually depend on us. It's not based on our actions, our heritage, or whether we get everything right. It's based entirely on His purpose and His call. And what that means is that even when people mess up, God's plan doesn't fail. And the classic example here, the one the speaker really focuses on, is the story of Jacob and Esau. Look at this timeline. God's choice was made when they were still in the womb, before they were even born, and way before they had a chance to do a single thing, good or bad. This just hammers home the point that His plan isn't based on our performance, but on His purpose. Okay, now this is a verse that is really tough to hear. It sounds incredibly harsh, maybe even unfair. But the speaker jumps in right away to tell us we need to be careful and really understand the language being used here. You see, this isn't about God having some kind of emotional rage towards Esau. The speaker explains that hated in this context is a term of comparison. It means less favored for one specific role, the sacred purpose of carrying the lineage of the Messiah. In fact, God also blessed Esau in many other ways. He just wasn't chosen for that particular job.
And this really brings us to the core of the whole argument. It all boils down to mercy. According to the speaker, our standing with God isn't something we earn through our own willpower or hard work. It's a gift that's given by a God who chooses to show mercy.
Now, this whole idea of sovereignty can feel a little abstract, right? So to make it more concrete, the speaker introduces one of the most famous metaphors in the entire Bible.
Here it is. God is the potter, and we are the clay. This one image just completely reframes the whole conversation. It shifts the focus from our rights to the Creator's purpose.
And the speaker breaks this down so well. Think about it. The clay doesn't get to argue with the potter, does it? It just trusts the potter's hands to shape it into something useful. The idea here is that we are also being shaped for a specific purpose, and our role is simply to yield to the Creator's design. And to build on that, think of it like a body. A potter makes different kinds of pots for different uses. In the same way, a body has hands, feet, and eyes, all different parts with different jobs. A foot can't just decide it wants to be an eye because the body needs both to work. And in the same way, we all have a unique and totally essential part to play in the bigger plan. So let's circle all the way back to Paul's anguish at the beginning. How does this whole potter and clay idea fix his heartbreak for Israel? Well, the speaker explains that God's plan didn't fail. It just got bigger. It expanded. The speaker brings in this ancient prophecy from the book of Hosea as the final piece of the puzzle. This was written centuries earlier, but Paul sees it coming true right before his eyes. And here it is, the beautiful resolution.
God's family was never meant to be exclusive to just one nation. The plan all along was to welcome people from every nation, every tribe, every language into his family through faith. And that's what the church is, a new, global family united by their trust in him.
But, and this is a crucial final point the speaker makes, this expansion doesn't mean God has abandoned his promises to Israel. Not at all. He emphasizes that God's gifts and his call can't be taken back. They're irrevocable. His plan is just so much bigger and more inclusive than anyone ever imagined.
And so this all leads to one final takeaway. It's really a call for us to humbly trust the artist, the potter, even when we can't see the full design. It's about believing that we're being shaped with a purpose, for a purpose. And that leaves us with a pretty big question to think about. What does it actually look like to live with that kind of radical trust in our day-to-day lives?